Welcome in the class of design of steel structure. We are learning design of beams. So far we have learned design of laterally supported and unsupported beams. So further we are going to see the built-up beams today. I am Mr. S. S. Savule, Assistant Professor, Civil Engineering Department. Now the built-up beams. When spans are long and loads are heavy, the large bending moments are generated, which a rolled steel joist of even a larger size cannot resist. As we know that we have the limited or the uh, it is finite numbers of variety of the steel sections, so beyond which we cannot go. So that's why if the some spans are long or loads are heavy, we have to go for the this built up sections. So also the depth of the beam may be restricted due to some headroom requirements. In both the situation, it becomes necessary to provide a built-up or the compound beam as shown here. So this is the built-up beam in which you can see this is the I section, and these are the plates those has been attached with this I section, and by using this we have prepared the built-up beam. So the design of the built-up beam is a trial and error procedure. A suitable I section is chosen and then a remaining modules of section required is provided by the plates. The plates are attached to the compression and tension flanges of the beam section. The compound section is then checked for the bending stress in compression as well as in tension. So these are called as a cover plates, and these are attached with the both flanges. And the some part of this movement of that coming movement is carried by this I section, and remaining part will be carried by these two plates. Now the design of cover plates. So let I required, that is moment of inertia of the section to resist the total bending moment. Suppose we are in need of the say bending moment of m value, and for that we have this, we calculate the required z by this sigma bc or t. So this z we have calculated, and this z is nothing but the I by y, this I by y. So this I, that is the moment of inertia required of by the section. Now the I is the moment of inertia of desirable beam section available. So in market few types of sections available. So we can choose one section, and the that desirable beam section available, that consists of the moment of inertia of value I, and then ip, that is the moment of inertia of the section required for from plate section. So this part of this m will be carried by this section having this I, and remaining part will be carried by these plates. So the moment of inertia of plates can be calculated by following equation. So ip equals to r required minus I. Then it is assumed that the center of gravity of the compression flange lies at the junction of the flange plate and cover plates. So the above equation can be written as, so this is ip divided by d by 2 equals to I required divided by d by 2 minus, that is minus I divided by d by 2. So here you can see this d is nothing but the overall depth over here, sorry, uh, this depth of the section, and we have assumed the center of gravity of the compression flange lies between the junction of flange plate and cover plate. That's why we are taking it as a d by 2. Compression flange means this entire flange. So now, so this becomes, that is I by y, that is zp, then I required, that is Z required minus Z. So from this equation, the required modulus of section of the plates can be worked out. Now the IP equals to 2 into I dash P plus AP into D by 2 square. So this I dash P is nothing but the moment of inertia of these plates. This section, this and this. Because of this small value of this TP, that is that I dash P equals to the B, that is width of plate, into this thickness, that is T cube divided by 12. So we are doing the higher powers of this T, which is already small value TP. So obviously that is again becomes a smaller value. So we are neglecting that. So neglecting IP as it is very small as compared to the second term, that is this. So IP equals to 2 into AP into D by 2 square. So IP by D by 2 is equals to 2 into AP into D by 2 by simplifying this. So this is nothing but the ZP, and this is 2 into AP into D. 2 by 2 get cancelled. So AP equals to ZP divided by D. So where this D is equals to depth of the rolled beam section, I dash P is moment of inertia of the plate about its own axis, then Zp equals to the section modulus of the plate which is provided, and AP is the sectional area of the plates provided on each flange. Knowing the area of plates AP, the area of plates on the both the flanges A dash P can be calculated by, so A dash P equals to 2 into AP. So the both the flanges. So the width B1 of the flange plates may be kept either equal or more than the flange width. As per IS 800 1984 specifications, the outstand of the flange plate from the line of connection of the plate and flange should not exceed by 20 T. So this we need to take care of, where T is the least of the thickness of the flange plates. So the thickness of the flange plates can be computed by this equation, that is TP equals to AP divided by this B1, which is nothing but the this entire width. Now the bending stresses in these kind of sections. So the bending stresses has been calculated as per we have already learned, that is in case of this laterally supported and unsupported. If the welded connection is designed, the calculated bending stresses are not affected. But if the connections are riveted, the stress in tension flange is more due to reduction of the area by the rivet holes. As you can see over here, this flange should be connected either by rivets or by welds. So if weld is there, then there is no issue. If the riveting is there, then the area has been reduced by the rivet hole. Therefore, the net and cross sectional area is calculated, and the bending stresses in tension has been calculated by using this equation. That is sigma bt calculated equals to sigma bc calculated into gross area of tension flange divided by the net area of tension. This calculated bending stress should be less than the allowable bending stress. The design of connections. The connections may be riveted or welded. In riveted connections, the rivets are staggered to achieve the more net area that we have seen earlier. That is, two rows of the rivets are provided, and only one rivet hole will occur at any cross section. The nominal diameter of the rivet is assumed, and the pitch of the rivet is computed by using the equation, that is this 7.11. Then let tau is the shear stress in this at the section, v is the shear force at the section, I is the moment of inertia, and B is the width of flange plate at the section. So AY is the movement of area about the neutral axis above the section considered. Tau 1 is the shear force per unit length, and S is the pitch of the rivet. So we know that tau is equals to VAY divided by IP. So tau is the shear stress into this particular width, that is tau into B, or tau 1 equals to VAY divided by BI into B, that becomes VAY divided by I. Hence, the horizontal shear force per pitch length is VAY divided by I into S. In general, the rivets are provided in two rows as shown in the figure like this that we have discussed earlier. So this is the connection in between this I section and the plate, and this staggered rivets has been provided. Therefore, the horizontal shear force shared equally by the two rows of rivets, and the rivets in each row are subjected to a horizontal shear force per pitch length. So again, we are using tau 2 here, that is 1/2 of VAY S divided by, that is half of this, that is the horizontal shear force per pitch length for one particular line. Then the rivet value for the rivet provided is worked out and is equated to the this force per pitch length. So the rivet value, we know how to calculate the rivet value. It is the minimum of the strength in bearing as well as strength in shear. Now the pitch calculated by this particular value or particular equation will be checked for following. The minimum pitch should not be less than 2.5 times of the nominal diameter of the rivet. As we know, the distance between two adjacent rivets should not exceed, that is 32 or 300 mm, whichever is less, including tacking rivets. The distance between two adjacent rivets parallel to the direction of the stresses should not exceed 16 T or 200 mm, whichever is less in the tension side, or 12 T or 200 mm, whichever is less in the compression side. When the rivets are staggered and the gauge distance does not exceed 75 mm, the distance specified in this 3 it can be increased by 50%. So if the connections are welded, the intermittent fillet welds can be provided. So in comment, please write that where we have seen these specifications. So in comment, mention these things. Now moving further, that is curtailment of flange plates. A beam is stressed maximum at a point where the bending moment is maximum. At any other point, the bending moment and the consequently the bending stresses decrease. So as we know, like this, uh, if we consider this simply supported beam having the UDL on it, uh, so at mid span it has this maximum bending moment, that is WL square by 8, by considering the UDL on it. So here the bending moment is maximum, but here that bending moment should not be that much. So therefore the maximum section is provided at the point of maximum bending moment, and elsewhere it can be reduced. So obviously uh, at maximum bending stress the section will be on higher side, or the heavier section should be there, and where the bending moment is less there will not be any requirement of these heavy sections. So the maximum sections can be provided at the point of maximum bending moment, and elsewhere it can be reduced. The reduction of the section can be done by cutting the cover plates. The I specifications that the first cover plate is carried throughout the full length of the beam, and the remaining plates can be curtailed if applicable for the built-up beams fabricated with the angle sections for flanges and the plate section for the web. However, the specifications is not applicable to the plated beams. So the this analysis has been done over here. So here you can see that x1, x2, x3, that is distance of the curtailment of the first, second and third plates from the support. So here you can see this is the beam and these are the plates, and first plate has been provided throughout and these plates has been curtailed. So here you can see we have seen this image. So for this length L3 we have to provide the maximum this depth or the bigger section, and for L2 the section will be quite lesser, and for this L1 again it is somewhat like this, and for L again that will be a lesser section. So L is the effective span of the beam, Z is the net modulus section of the rolled I section, which is here. Z1 is the net modulus section of the rolled I section with one cover plate, that is this cover plate plus this I section. Z2 is net modulus section of rolled I section with two cover plates, that is at this section. So if I draw the section, so right here it is there, and again it is three plates will be here. And Z3 is the net modulus section of the rolled I section with three cover plates. So W is the UDL over the entire beam, and L1, L2, L3 are the respective lengths of the first, second and third cover plates to be provided. So for simply supported beam loaded with UDL, the maximum bending moment occurs at the center of the beam, as we can see over here. So the length of cover plate is so adjusted that the moment of resistance is always more than the bending moment, the equating the bending moment to the moment of resistance. So here we are equating this thing. Now this is WL square by 8, and moment of resistance is sigma Bt, that is allowable bending in tension into Z3. Z3 is nothing but the this modulus section. So at this point, now at this point we are cutting the this first section. So there the so if we calculate the bending moment at point C, it is W into L square minus L3 square divided by 8, and again this here we are reducing the section, so this sigma Bt into Z2. Same way at point B, the bending moment will be W into L square minus L2 square divided by 8, and the bending moment the moment of resistance is sigma Bt into Z1, and at point A, that is at this point, so W bending moment will be W into L square minus L1 square divided by 8 into sigma Bt into Z. So this is how we are going to calculate the bending moment at particular sections. So from equation number 7.12 and 7.13, that is from these two equations, we will get L square divided by L square minus L3 square equals to Z3 divided by Z2. So or L3 equals to L into under root Z3 minus Z2 divided by Z3. Similarly, we will get L2 equals to L into bracket L into under root Z3 minus Z1 divided by Z3, and L1 is L into under root Z3 minus Z divided by Z3. So this way we will get the values of L1, L2 and L3 for the curtailment. So this is the curtailment of flange. This is all for today's lecture. These are the references for today's lecture. Thank you.